After getting familiar with the plot, I would like to talk about the play's themes. Honor, duty, and responsibility are the play's central themes, and we should remember that these ideals are presented to an audience who back in time takes honor very seriously. Shakespeare's text examines the lives and characteristics of the men who helped Republican Rome to be formed as the foremost and most important model of political greatness and glory. Caesar, Cassius, and Brutus possess a strong desire for worldly glory and fame, and they regard honor as the highest good, and they persistently pursue victory as they admire the qualities such as fame, honor, victory that give them great pride and self-confidence in their own strength in spirit, a term we read in Act 1, Scene 3. In their world, all these characteristics are equal to manliness and human excellence. These characters provide exemplars of the Roman notion of strenuitas, a word which derives from the Latin adjective strenuus, principally defined as brisk, prompt, active, vigorous, as well as turbulent and restless. Never satisfied and always wanting more, these men strove for greater heights. This is best exemplified in this work when Caesar's wife Calpurnia pleads with him not to go to the Senate on the day of his murder on account of her portentous dream of his demise. This is an amazing scene as we see great dictator waver. Initially, Caesar listens to his wife and decides to stay home to placate Calpurnia. But when Decius chides Caesar for his conjugal obedience, he retreats, takes off for the Senate, foreshadowing in this line, which I believe is a great line. Caesar says, "Cowards die many times before their deaths. The valiant taste death but once." So Caesar spurns Calpurnia, joins Decius, and strides to the Senate, stalking in his own demise. So this notion of strenuitas, which served as an accelerant to the burning ambition of men like Caesar, pushing them to new heights, can also lead to their downfall. This ambition Brutus and Cassius to conspire and murder him is the reason. Was this a just result? Should Caesar be killed to save the Roman Republic and its honor? Brutus clearly thought so, and during his eulogy of Caesar, he defends the assassination, rhetorically addressing the crowd in order to make their unspoken assumption clear. In Act 3, Scene 2, Brutus addresses the crowd by saying and asking, "Had you rather Caesar were living and die all slaves, than that Caesar were dead to live all free men?" As Caesar's continued existence will condemn Rome to enduring enslavement, Brutus contends that his death promises freedom. Like Brutus, there were many others who did not see Caesar as a warrior, man of vision, and great military mind. They saw him as a deceitful politician who would do anything for his ambition, which was considered by many as dictatorship, and which was also seen as the end of Roman liberty and Roman constitution. But was Rome truly better off without him? Was he truly despotic? If so, is that a capital offense? Or was this the trumped-up charge by lesser men who resented his auctoritas? Let us keep in mind that the physical violence was an accepted part of Roman political machinery. Murder was the ancient tool, an extreme measure to obstruct your opponent from achieving a political end, and Caesar himself was no stranger to the use of violence as a political tool and was certainly aware of the risks he was taking by entering the arena. So as we sit back and watch a 500-year-old play about a 2,000-year-old tale, it is important to be mindful of the relevant norms of those times in history. But should these norms change our understanding of this event? Is there a moral distinction between murder and assassination? Between murder and killing an action within the scope of an armed conflict? Was the US government guilty of the murder of Saddam Hussein when it sought regime change in the Second Iraq conflict? Was Castro guilty of murder when he led the coup d'etat in Cuba? Are these events even similar or different? Do these agents share commonalities with Brutus? These are just some of the questions the seminal work raises as we relate to the themes of tyranny to the 21st century political context across the globe as the re-emergence of the strongman has gained in popularity in various governments around the world and helps us question what it means to be a good leader and what it means to be a good citizen in the context of Brutus, Caesar, and Rome. Just as ambition, greed, tyranny, and violence are part of the human condition, this work also raises more themes about love and loyalty, which also about in this work. In this context, Shakespeare addresses the themes of betrayal and friendship, as Brutus was indeed an ally and friend to Caesar prior to his murder, which renders Brutus all the more conflicted as he contemplates the deed and justifies his conduct. This is such a wonderful example of Shakespeare's dramaturgy, as the friendship between these men heightens the tension for Brutus, and we are given glimpses into his angst and psychological trauma, as this man who chokes on his own honor debases himself into a common thug for the sake of the Republic. Shakespeare gives us so many glimpses into this tension. As Brutus expresses his desire to kill the spirit of Caesar, but not the man, in brilliant wordplay as Caesar's ghost comes back to haunt Brutus after the murder. Their relationship also heightens the most famous line, "Et tu, Brute? You too, Brutus?" as Caesar is genuinely startled to see his friend betray him, and their proximity makes this line all the more dramatic. In these two men's friendship, we can witness loss, grief, but at the same time, love for one's country. To serve his ambition as a good citizen and to save Rome from Caesar's tyranny, Brutus had no other choice but to betray Caesar. Brutus' betrayal is depicted by the 14th century Italian poet Dante. Dante puts Brutus and Cassius in the last circle of hell because they were traitors. But Shakespeare's contemporary Sir Philip Sidney and Michelangelo depicted Brutus with praiseworthy terms.